everyone out there in YouTube land. I know I have not been here for quite a long time. I think it's been about 2 years since my last upload. Today's date is the 15th of the 6th, 2019. So it's probably actually closer to 2.5 years. I have had a really hard couple of years, and I've written a lot of notes. So again, like anyone knows that has been following me for a while, that I don't like to just read off the screen, but there is a lot that I've written, and Bible verses, and if anyone's familiar with the Matthew Henry commentaries, so there's a few excerpts from there as well. This one I have decided to, I've decided to, or God prompted me to call this one Dry Bones. So if anyone's like familiar with the Old Testament, the Bible in general, really, there is a story in Ezekiel, the book of Ezekiel, chapter 37, and the verses 1 to 14. I'm reading from the Amplified Bible just because, no particular reason. Like, I'm not like, I don't read that one a lot. I basically read the NIV or Good News or King James, but the Amplified version, I really like the way that they described the story. And so the verses, again, it's Ezekiel chapter 37, verses 1 to 14. So it says here, the hand of the Lord was upon me, and he brought me out in the spirit of the Lord and set me down in the middle of the valley, and it was full of bones. He caused me to pass all around them, and behold, there were very many human bones in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. And he said to me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord God, you know. Again he said to me, Prophesy to these bones, and say to them, O dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. Thus says the Lord God to these bones, Behold, I will make breath into you, so that you may come to life. I will put sinews on you, make flesh grow back on you, cover you with skin, and I will put breath in you, so that you may come alive, and you will know that I am the Lord. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied, there was a thundering noise, and behold, a rattling, and the bones came together, bone to its bone. And I looked, and behold, there were sinews on the bone, and flesh grew, and skin covered them, but there was no breath in them. Then he said to me, Prophesy to the breath, Son of man, and say to the breath, Thus says the Lord God, Come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe on these slain, so that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they came to life, and stood up on their feet, an exceedingly great army. And then just below that, it says, the vision explained. This is like still reading from Amplified Version. Then he said to me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Behold, they say, Our bones are dried up, and our hope is lost. We are completely cut off. Therefore prophesy to them, and say, Thus says the Lord God, Behold, I will open your graves, and make you come up out of your graves, my people, and I will bring you back home to the land of Israel. Then you will know with confidence that I am the Lord, when I have opened your graves, and made you come up out of your graves, my people. I will put my spirit in you, and you will come to life, and I will place you in your own land. Then you will know that I am the Lord. Then you will know that I, the Lord, have spoken and fulfilled it, says the Lord. Excuse me, I'm just gonna. Sorry, just really thirsty at the moment. When I actually did like a little bit of research into the story and the context around the story of the dry bones in the valley, it was largely in regards to the Jews being out of Israel and how they felt cut off from God and trapped within captivity. They also make reference to the lost, those without salvation, laying scattered about in the valley, waiting to be told about the gospel and saving grace of Jesus. But I also see something else in the story, and God sort of like dropped this thought into my heart, into my spirit, that it's like the spiritual dryness that we as believers can go through at different times in our walk of faith. The Matthew Henry commentary book that I have, my Bible bookcase, he's a biblical commentator from, I think, the 1800s, I believe, or the 1900s, somewhere. He's like from way back anyway, but he's pretty cool. He sort of explains his verses, explains his thoughts about verses, like pretty much throughout the whole Bible. Like I've got just one book, but there's supposed to be like heaps of them. But I've got like the shorter version, like that is more concentrated. It's a concentrated version. If you hear any background noises, it's my cats. They are playing out the door, and I closed it so they can't get in. So I do apologise for that. Yeah, so Matthew Henry explains his thoughts about the verses. I've taken some parts of what he had written that really struck me personally, and I'll go to elaborate. I'll explain them sort of a bit more after I've read what he wrote. So he wrote, he says, he must pray, and he did so, and the dead bones were made to live in answer to prayer, for a spirit of life entered into them. See the efficacy of the word and prayer, and the necessity of both for the raising of dead souls. God bids his ministers prophesy upon the dead bones. Say unto them, live. Say unto them, live, and they do as they are commanded, calling to them again and again, O you dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. But we call in vain. Still they are dead, still they are very dry. We must therefore be earnest with God in prayer for the working of the Spirit with the word. Come, O breath, and breathe upon them. He that made us so fearfully and wonderfully and curiously wrought us can in like manner new make us, or make us new, for his arm is not shortened. So God can reach anything, right, in anyone. But as for God, his work is perfect. He is not the God of the dead. The dispirited, despairing captives were wonderfully animated with resolution to break through all the discouragements that lay in the way of their return, and applied themselves to it with all imaginable vigour, with energy. And then they stood up upon their feet, an exceedingly great army, not only living men, but effective men and women, fit for service in the wars and formidable to all that gave them any opposition. Note, with God, nothing is impossible. The depth of despair to which they are now reduced. They all give up themselves for lost and gone. They say, our bones are dried, our strength is exhausted, our spirits are gone, our hope is all lost. Everything we looked for, succor, I don't know how to pronounce that word, and relief from fails us, and we are cut off for our parts. Let who will cherish some hope, we see no ground for any. Note, when troubles continue long, hopes have often been frustrated, and all creature confidences fail. It is not strange if the spirits sink, and nothing but an active faith in the power, promise, and providence of God will keep them from quite dying away. So that was Matthew Henry's interpretation or understanding, and effectively, I don't want to use the word translation of that story. It's kind of, he takes like verse by verse and pretty much explains it. And he was supposed to be apparently, well, I don't know much about him, but I'm pretty sure he was a very strong Christian. So I quite enjoy reading just like, different people's different interpretations and understandings of things. So so just around that and why I've been so silent. So like, going on from that and why I've been so silent and missing in action for the last 2 years. I know, as I said before, it's been about 2 years since I posted anything. I think I mentioned in my last post I've been struggling with depression. It was about mid-2017 I began the downward spiral of depression. My physical health wasn't good. I was on painkillers for a bad back injury. Some trauma from my childhood was confirmed and expanded upon by an immediate family member. So that came crashing from my past into my present, literally like a thunderclap. Like there was no avoiding it at all. I had a friend pass away. The friend that passed away, her grandson was my ex-boyfriend. He was abusive, so he was at the funeral. I hadn't seen him for about 10 years. And to top it all off, I lost my job. So I was in a relationship at the time. I won't mention his name, but I was in a relationship at the time for most of 2017. He was lying to me a lot, wasn't supportive of me with my mental health issues. And the depression I experienced during that time was overwhelming, I would say. It was pretty pretty intense, overwhelming, debilitating. Doesn't even begin to describe how I was really feeling. I'm sorry, my cat's just got in my room. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm sorry. They're very naughty. So it was, yeah, it was pretty intense. It was yeah, it was full on. I'd never been, up until that point, I'd never been so scared of the thoughts and the feelings running through my mind and my heart. I had felt that no part of my life was sacred. I felt completely like every part of my life was being attacked. I was in deep, deep suffering. And I was scared of myself, like scared of how I was feeling and how I was thinking, and it kind of got so bad that just before Christmas, I pretty much, oh no, it would have been late November. I pretty much had planned how I was going to end my life because I was exhausted. It wasn't about wanting to die. It was more I was tired of living, like I was tired of breathing, and it was a hard place to be. I was just going to overdose on some medication that I had in my house. I was on medication for a skin condition historically, and still had the medication in my house. And 10 of these. This is really hard for me to admit. 10 of these tablets would have been enough to basically put my organs into shutdown. And I had about over 50 to 80 of these, tablets, plus the back pain medication and boxes of Panadol and ibuprofen and all that kind of stuff. So I had all that in my mind, and I'm like, it'll be just so easy just to do that. At the time, one particular evening, I was on the phone to the guy that I was dating. I think we were actually no longer dating; we were just friends. While I sorted myself out, and while he sorted himself out, and so we were just friends with the possibility of us dating again in the future. And I was on the phone to him, and he asked me. I told him of my plans, and he asked me how likely I was to do it that night, commit suicide, in my life on that night. And I said, out of a 9 to 10, from 1 to 10, about 9.5 probably. So about 95% chance of me doing it that night. And he told me not to do anything, that he was on his way. And I told him, just not to. And then I kind of had like a 30-second window of just, I wouldn't say clarity, it was more, I wouldn't say strength. It was just a moment where I was like, I just got out of bed and went into the kitchen, and I got the medication that would put me into organ failure, the one that I was taking for my skin historically, and went into the bathroom, and I flicked the lid on the bottle and just tipped them upside down into the toilet and flushed. And I still don't understand. I mean, I know God gave me the strength or the lucidity for that one moment to do that, but I still don't know exactly how I managed to do that. And it was just I thank God, not long after that he gave me that moment, and I've thanked him in some way every day since, even when it's been hard still. Just I'm really thankful that he gave me the strength to do what I did, even while I was in the depths of darkness and pain and suffering. And not only did I have the depression because of everything that was going on in my life, but I also, the pain medication I was on for my back can also cause depression and or suicidal ideation. And I had no idea at the time that was contributing largely or a lot to, or maybe half, to how I was feeling. Like it was that bad, I'd literally get into my car and I didn't know how to drive. Like I'd completely forgotten how to drive, or I'd get ready for a shower and I'm standing there with the water running and I'm out of the shower and I don't even know what I'm doing. Like I'd be sitting in the bathroom going, I don't know what to do next. And it was literally so obvious. Like now it's obvious. It's like, get undressed and get in the shower and get clean and get out and get dry and get dressed. But I was like standing there and I'm just like, what? Like, I don't know what to do next. It was really not a fun place. So since then, since that happened, like, I was really close to suicide and got rid of the medication, all that kind of stuff. So since then, the back injury it's still there, but I'm almost pain-free through exercising, rolling, stretching, staying active. I don't sit down for too long. Like, I've probably had an hour, 2 hours, 3 at the most, and I've got to stop. I've got to just go for a walk or stretch out or whatever. The abusive ex-boyfriend that I saw at the funeral is back in the past where he belongs, so it's sort of buried that hatchet kind of thing. I've dealt with the childhood trauma that hit me between my eyeballs and knocked me on my backside through sessions with my therapist. So I discussed with her everything that happened. We worked through it. I've put it back in this box where it belongs. I actually ended up confronting the person who had inflicted that trauma on me, which was before my bum fell off, before the depression. Is what the term that I use when I go into a really deep depression is that my bum fell off. So I actually confronted him like in the middle, like just after I found out about the trauma being confirmed, all that kind of stuff. So confronted him, dealt with the ensuing fallout with my therapist through my therapy with sessions with her, dealt with that. I'm working again. I've got financial security for the first time in my life, which is amazing. And the relationship that I was in with that guy who was lying to me and not supporting me the way that I needed it, I ended that relationship. It became toxic, and I have had enough toxic crap in my life, so I terminated, not him, but the relationship. So anyway, my stupid cats. So in early 2018, after all that happened, I spent some time in New Zealand with family for 3 weeks, and I just assumed that, now that the crap storm had ended, I would bounce back to my normal, vivacious, bubbly, extroverted, to a point of pain, self that I was back in early 2017. My relationship with God in early 2017 was good. I was in church, weekly Bible study group, spending time with God one-on-one. Like I said before, absolute extrovert. But I literally had no idea the depth of the impact that episode of depression had on me from mid-2017 till the end of 2017. How much it had changed me and how much I had fallen. I refer to 2017 as the year of crap and bollocks, pretty much, putting it nicely. It ripped me apart. Like, that year really, it shattered me. So that's how I refer to 2017. And also that I shouldn't have gotten out of bed on the first day of January 2017. I should have just pulled the covers up over my head and stayed there. If I'd known what was coming, I would have stayed in bed. I wouldn't have gotten up. I would have just stayed there and just, stayed in bed, pretty much. And I refer to 2018 now as the lost year, because I just pretty much lost a whole year of, I know it sounds dramatic, lost a whole year of my life, but it kind of feels like that. I kind of lost me. Anyway, so early 2018 rolled around. Like I said, went to New Zealand for 3 weeks. I went to church out of habit. I stopped attending weekly study groups when the group that I went to stopped meeting. Never found a new one. Stopped serving on the youth group. My Bible became an ornament, a paperweight. I didn't even open it up. Didn't really talk to God. Didn't talk to God at all. We were not on speaking terms. And I became a shadow of my former self. The only thing I really got a tiny measure of joy out of was my work in disability support. I found people extraordinarily exhausting. From going from extrovert to being like, get away from me, like, leave me alone, don't talk to me, don't draw me into conversation. I have nothing to say. I don't want to talk to you. Leave me alone. Was kind of like the complete opposite of who I am at my core. I graduated with my diploma in youth work in late 2018, which was pretty cool. Tried being a youth worker. That was a failure. I lasted 10 weeks. I was, although I did try. Like, I was there for 10 weeks. The third week I had to ring police 000 because that's an emergency number here in Australia if people from overseas are watching this. Because I was in fear of my life. I had two young people coming through a wooden door with a weapon. That was week 3, and I lasted another 7 weeks. So I was already in a bad place mentally, and then I went into this job, and I was being, my life was being threatened. My safety, my physical safety was being threatened day to day. Every day I went on a shift. And I just got to a point where I had to choose between my mental health and the job, and I chose my mental health. And it was scary walking off that job because I didn't have anything lined up, but as always, God did provide, and I'm doing pretty good now. So yeah, I left that job. Went to start my new job in December. Stayed with a friend until I found my own place. This is December last year, obviously December last year. Well, this was all going on, the like the tail end of the depression, like new job, quit the job, I had to stay with a friend, all my stuff was in storage, my poor cat was like, this is the third move we've had this year, what are we doing, what are you doing to me, what was I doing to myself? I went back to my old coping strategies and addictions. I felt really far from God, and I'd given up even trying to have a relationship with him, and I was no longer attending church. When I did attend church, it was like, didn't make eye contact with anyone. I didn't want anyone to approach me or, like get my phone number from me. I didn't want to engage with anyone. I literally felt like, I was dry, I was empty, a shadow, and I felt like I was dead on the inside. I began to passionately hate myself, hate the woman that I'd become again, kind of again, like I'd been there before, but this was different. It was worse. And then I decided, like, probably about late February, early March of this year. I think it was about then. I just decided to stop everything all at once. Enough was enough. I wanted to feel peace and joy and love and hope, and I just wanted to feel like me again. I missed me. I didn't know where me had gone, and I know I'm talking about myself in the third person. It makes me sound a little bit crazy, but I didn't know me anymore, and I wanted me back. I wanted to look in the mirror and not be ashamed of who I saw. I tried a couple of churches and I didn't feel right there, but I did find a ladies' study group that I attend weekly, and they've been pretty cool actually. I've been really enjoying engaging with women again and women of faith. I signed up to the RSPCA to volunteer there once a week to learn to adjust and enjoy being around people again. It was kind of a task I gave myself, and I have a friend in New Zealand, and I said to her, these are my 2 goals. It was RSPCA and I think it was joining a gym. And I said to her, can you hold me accountable for these 2 things? I have to get these things done. And I gave her a time frame, and I got them done because I was accountable to someone. I had to answer to her, and that really helped me. So I went to the gym. First it was like, physical exercise helps with my back, releases endorphins, makes me feel happy. RSPCA was to help me reintegrate into society. Literally felt like that, like I had to learn how to engage with people again and communicate with people. And again, animals are good for relieving stress and depression, so that was a win-win situation. And I began thinking about God more often, or actually, period, full stop. during each day. So it wouldn't be, I didn't seek him out. I didn't read the word or listen to podcasts or anything like that. It was more like okay, God, I know you're there. I know you love me. I know that you know that I'm turning around. And that's pretty much where I left it. Excuse me. I didn't put any pressure on myself. I didn't go, oh, I haven't read the Bible today, and I have to do a daily devotional. I know that I should, and I know that it's really, really beneficial, and everyone should do. Well, yeah, everyone should do it. But I was just concentrating on showing myself grace and baby steps, just a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. I actually went away in late April to early May for a week. I went up to North Queensland and spent time with a best friend of mine. I've known her for almost 14 years. She's not a Christian yet, but I pray for her. And so I spent some time with her and spent some time in church and with God, just in general. That was kind of like part of my stopping process, just stopping everything, just going away for 5 days, hitting the reset button, and no plans to do much, just be still, just be quiet, and listen, I think. So I spent my time there with my friend, church and with God. I purchased a DVD called The Heart of Man, which it's a Christian film, it's a documentary theatrical film. I'd actually seen it twice at the movies last year with a friend, kind of friend. So it speaks about, it's about sexual brokenness, pornography addiction, adultery, sexual trauma, and it is all based around the prodigal son. So it covers all those things, like the sexual side of stuff, and also as Christians, and also about the prodigal son. Everyone knows about the prodigal son. If you don't, just Google it, you'll find it. So I watched the DVD for the third time. I also attended church twice that Sunday. I was up there, and the evening service was really good. So between the DVD and the message in the evening service, God really, I had a massive breakthrough. God broke through He got through my pain. He got through my suffering, and all of the walls that I built up around my heart to protect myself through. Because when that depression hit, I went into survival mode. Like, it's just what I do. Like, the depression hits, I recoil, I go inside of myself, I turn very inward and very introspective, inwardly focused, and I shut everything out, including God. And I just harden my heart against everything and everyone, probably even a little bit against myself. And I just, it's kind of like going underground into a bunker when there's a tornado, like a massive one, like a grade 5, whatever they're called, like a massive one where it just destroys an entire city, and I've just gone underground and I'm just put my head between my knees and ride it out. That's pretty much kind of how I get through it. So yeah, he just basically just crumbled everything away. It was like literally, like, I felt like those walls were literally like butter, and and God was the knife, and he just cut right through everything, and I just felt everything just fall away. Like, literally, I just felt it just crumble at my feet. It was insane, amazing, but insane. It was really crazy. So he did it just so lovingly and so gently. It wasn't like a stab. It was just like a very gentle, loving touch, and I felt my heart just yield. So there were two things that really stood out to me while I was away. One was that in the film it's depicting the story of the prodigal son, like I mentioned before, who the father pursues to bring him home, right? It hit me suddenly, third time I've watched it, it hit me that I was that one sheep that he left the other 99 to come and find. Tiny, insignificant, unworthy, and undeserving me, Manda, his beloved daughter. Even though I'd made the choices, I had to run as far from him as I could because of the depression, then shame, and self-loathing. He never stopped searching for me. Also, during the film, a man comments that he felt he felt like a little dried up piece of shit, sorry, that at any moment a breeze would come along and blow me away and there would be nothing left. I felt like in that moment I'd never agreed with anything more than I did with that statement, ever. I felt like that all the time for like from 2017 until like a month ago, 2 months ago. I felt like that entire time. Like I was just waiting to be blown away. I was just a pile of crap sitting on the edge of a cliff waiting to be blown away by the smallest of breezes. Like I was dried up, empty, nothing. I kind of like, I felt kind of like an ant holding on to a blade of grass in a hurricane and just hoping that I could hold on just long enough for someone to grab hold of me and drag me to safety, The other thing that hit me while I was away was during the evening church service. The pastor was preaching about grace, mercy, and God's redeeming love. He explained that mercy equals not giving someone the punishment they deserve, and that grace equals someone getting something they don't deserve. So I'll say that again. He explained that mercy equals not giving someone the punishment they deserve. Okay? And that grace equals someone getting something they don't deserve. This is in reference to the mercy and grace God shows us every day. I was also reminded that God loves me for who I am, even the hurt, angry, painful secret parts of me. That His love never quits, stops, gives up, or leaves me. It kind of overwhelms me when I listen to that, and I get pretty emotional. Also, God made me with His hands in my mother's womb. Then He brought me on the cross. So technically, I'm His twice. He firstly created me, and then He died for me. And if that isn't love, I don't know what is. I really don't. I'm at a loss as to describe the word love if that isn't love. To create me, knowing that I would turn away, and then He died for me, knowing that I would still turn away, and He still did both anyway, because He loves me. I was also reminded while I was away that the devil reminds me of the things I have done against God, of the sins I have committed, the shame I feel in order to keep me from God. So the devil, worms his way in and says, God couldn't possibly love you because you've done this and that, and he makes you feel like shame, fear, uncertainty, feelings of unworthiness. That doesn't come from God. There is no fear in love, and God is love. So if fear doesn't come from God, where does it come from? It's nothing good. So it's bad, which comes from the devil. So, it irks me. In fact, it doesn't irk me, it makes me furious that not only have I let the enemy get in to my heart and to my spirit and crush me and drag me away from my Father, but I let him. So I'm angry at me as well. And I know that sounds like I'm being really brutal to myself, but I know this already, and I continually let it happen. Like I have a moment of weakness, and I let him in, the enemy, and before I know it, I'm so far from God. I have no idea how to find my way back. And the last 2 years, I feel like I've been trying to claw my way back to God, and I've had to fight really hard until I just threw my hands up, and I'm like, I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. And that's when God's like, finally, and he did what needed to be done. He cut away that hardened heart that I had, and he moved in, and he took everything away, like all the bad stuff. Like I still have days where I'm just like, ugh, like I don't feel great today, but I just I get up and talk to God, and I'm like, right, okay, bad day, I need some help. I'm getting sidetracked. So between the film and the church message, I've realized that there's nothing I have done, still do, or will do in the future that changes God's vision of me or his love for me. He will pursue me to the depths of my pain, of my broken heart, of the sin, of the depression. And he alone can and will break those chains that have me bound so tight that the shackles bite into my flesh. And that's, again, probably sounds dramatic, but that's how it feels like. All that hatred for myself and the depression and, the sin I was drowning in, felt like I just had chains wrapped around my entire body, and no matter what I did, I couldn't free myself. I was not strong enough to free myself, and I just basically, gave up in the end. Since I've had all that stuff hit me like a weight and break those chains inside my mind, my heart, and my spirit, I've had the story of the valley of the dry bones, bouncing around in my head and working away at my spirit. And it's kind of how God communicates with me. He kind of like sows something in here, and it kind of evolves and changes and becomes bigger, and then something in my heart speaks up, and then something in my spirit speaks up, and then God talks to me, and it's like just kind of all just snowballs and gathers momentum from there. Oh, excuse me. Ooh, long day. So I know people in my life, one in particular that I can think of that, is right in that valley, where I have just been. Now, I'm far from the top. I'm still in that valley, but I'm a couple of meters up on the side of the hill, so I'm slowly making my way back up. I've had it on my heart to do this video message in the hope it will help to encourage someone to keep pushing forward. I know that there are people who feel dry, bitter, brittle, without life, without breath, and like that little pile of shit. And I know that you might find it near impossible to focus on anything but those feelings. I know how those feelings can be overwhelming and how they can just drain you, and you just don't know what else to do, sort of thing. I've felt dry and lifeless, and like I'm just dust, really, just dust. And dust is so fragile and just can disappear, just disappear, But the truth is not these feelings, even though they are really real. Like, I'm acknowledging that how I felt was really real, and how you're feeling will be really real. But it's not truth. It's not God's truth. Those feelings of sadness and despair and dryness and like that you're brittle, it's not God's truth. It's not God's destiny for you. It's not God's plan for your life. It's not what he wants for you. He wants the best for you, and that's not his best. His best is, oh my gosh, so amazing. Sorry, I just got really excited then. The truth is that God sees you, and he can see you where you're sitting. He knows that you're there. He sees you. He's not just passing you by, like looking around for everyone else. That he knows that you're there. Even with all the other billions of people in the world that he loves, he also sees you. He loves you. He knows how you feel, and has never ever left you alone in that valley. As Matthew Henry commented above, I'm quoting again here, the depth of despair to which they are now reduced. They all give up themselves for lost and gone. They say, our bones are dried, our strength is exhausted, our spirits are gone, our hope is all lost. Everything we looked for relief from fails us, and we are cut off for our parts. Let who will cherish some hope, and we see no ground for any. We can all feel this through some point in our lives, whether a little or to the point where we consider or even attempt suicide. We can so often feel dry, weak, exhausted, without spirit or heart, hopeless and helpless, without relief, cut off from ourselves, loved ones and friends, hopeless and helpless, without relief, cut off from sorry, got myself lost. We can so often feel dry, weak, exhausted, without spirit or heart, hopeless and helpless, without relief, cut off from ourselves, loved ones and friends, cut off from God, and lastly, as though all hope is gone forever. We can toss and turn and wrestle with ourselves and with God, all while in that valley and in the dark. Yeah, it's pretty crap. Like, it's pretty intense to feel like no matter which way you turn, no matter which direction you go in, no matter how many times you try to drag yourself from lying face down in the dirt to just being on your hands and knees and just taking a couple of crawling steps forward, you never ever make any ground up. That's kind of, how I felt at my worst, and probably still to an extent pretty much at my best for the last couple of years. Like, I sort of feel like I could kneel. I could go from face down in the dirt to like kneeling up, and then something would just like kind of nudge me and I'd just fall flat on my face again every single time. And it made me angry, it made me despondent, it made me done. Like, I was just done. I was just at the end, beyond the end of myself. Like they say, when you come to the end of yourself, that's when God can come in. But I was beyond the end of myself. There was no me left. Like, the woman I was, she was gone. I didn't even know where to begin to look for her. Psalm 23:4 says, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." Even though we can be afraid of what is happening, or even of the feelings we are having, and like we are actually walking through a wasteland of death, nothing changes the fact that God is with you, walking next to you, guiding you through and caring for you. Even if you can't feel him, he is so there. Like, he never leaves us, he never forsakes us. Like, I remember saying that one of my older vlogs, that he never takes his hand off you. Like, even like from the age of 19 to 29, where I wasn't in a relationship with him, I still believed in God. Like, I knew he was there, but I didn't have any relationship with him. I lived out in the world. Like, I smoked, I drank, I did drugs, partied, all that kind of stuff, all the stuff that comes with living out in the world. Didn't really care. I cared who I hurt, but only to an extent. Only my friends. Everyone else was just like, just trying to get a life. I was just trying to get a life. I trying to get ahead in life, and had to do what I just did what I had to be done. Didn't really care too much about hurting people on the way. And even though I was living out in the world, like, I became a Christian at 15, like, gave my life to Christ at 15, and I knew I could feel his hand on me for that 10 years, and I could feel him with me. And if he can be with me when I've so arrogantly and defiantly turned my back on him, then the times where I'm suffering the most, when I need him the most, then he won't leave me then either. I get really sorry. Yeah, it was a really hard time, and I am thankful every day that I didn't end my life, that I'm still here, and that I'm still his. Like, yeah. Sorry, just in a moment. I just get really emotional when I think about it. Just a sec. So this is probably like my most real vlog, actually. This is what I'm really struggling with this one. It's hard for me. I think the reason why I get so emotional is because I know that there's other people out there that are hurting as well, and that hurts me. It's one thing to struggle through it on your own or personally, and another thing to know that someone else is out there suffering as well. It could be you, the person who's listening to this right now. It could be you, and my heart breaks for you, because I know how you're feeling. I know what it feels like to be so broken and feeling just so hopeless and helpless and worthless, but that's just all lies. Like, those things aren't true about you. You're loved, and you're created by God, and you've got friends. Even if you don't think you've got any, there's one out there. There's me. I'm here. I'm your friend. And just reach out to just one person, even if it's Lifeline, or I can't think of any of the other ones. Beyond Blue, Lifeline, Beyond Blue, Google. There's got to be someone out there that you can get hold of. Just pastor to church, youth group leader, anyone, just somebody. Just reach out to someone and just say, look, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. I need to talk to someone. Yeah. So I do know that what I'm saying probably sounds like just words. If someone had come to me and said all the stuff to me when I was in that valley and just wanting to give up, I would have been like, what do you know? Like, you don't know how I feel. And I feel like I have gone through, and occasionally still go through, what I do and what I have. Not because God wanted me to. Like, I know that He would not want me to suffer. Like, the trauma that I went through was horrific. It changed my life. Like, who I am now is not who He wanted me to be. Like, I am who I am now because of what I've gone through. Did God want me to go through it? No, I don't believe He did. Will He use it? Yeah, I know He will. I know He will. And I don't say that to make myself feel better, maybe it wasn't all a waste. Maybe, there's something good that's going to come out of it. And there's, if He uses what I've gone through to not just bring Him glory, because, yeah, women have gone through women and men have gone through what I've gone through, and a lot of them don't make it. Whether it's they kill themselves, or the drug addicts, or the alcoholics, or they self-harm to the point where they're just covered in scars, and they hate it. They hate themselves. I feel incredibly blessed, because I'm still here. I haven't ended my life. I don't self-harm. Well, I don't self-harm physically. I do other things that are a little bit unhealthy, but I'm working on those. Just emotional stuff. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not a drug addict. I'm not filled with hate or anger or anything like that. I have a strength inside of me that I have because of God. And He is the reason. That strength and the strength that He's given me is the reason why I've made it, why I'm still here, why I can vlog and I can reach out to people. And if that's if He can use me to reach out to other people who suffer through depression, or have thought about ending their lives, or have gone through trauma and abuse, and just need someone to get it, to understand what it's like, to really, really understand. And if he can use me to do that, to reach out, to help someone, just even one person in my entire life, God willing, I live a long time healthily, then I'm happy. Like, I want him to use me so that I can get to other people, so I can help them. And that's why I do this. This is why I get on here, and this is why I'm so honest. And this is pretty honest. Don't think I've been this honest. Yeah, it's, he, like I said, I know these words just sound like words, but it's my truth, and I want to help. I want to help other people. They're not just words. These are prayerfully and as lovingly as possible, God's words for you through me. I've been there, and it's tough, and nothing ever changes about the promises that God makes. God can't change his promises. Once he makes a promise, that is it. It is set and sealed. He never breaks the promises that he makes to you. He never breaks the promises that he's made to me. He is unable to change. Always constant. Always comforting. And never, ever stops pursuing us to the depths of the places we can go. Whether it's away from him deliberately, or away from him because of depression, or away from him because of the self-loathing. It doesn't matter. You can run as far as you want and go as far as you want, but the truth is that God already knew you were going to do that, and he prepared the path that he needed to take to come and find you before you even knew you were going to go down that path, because he knows you. And it's not a scary thing. It's not meant to scare anyone. It's the Father's love. I don't have children, but I've got 2 really crazy cats. And I know that if I did have a child and my child went missing, nothing and no one would get in my way till I found my child. It's parents' love. I've helped raise children, and worked as a nanny, and now I work in disability support, so I'm super nurturing and super protective and caring and stuff, and I would move universes, worlds, to find someone that I cared about who had gone missing. And that's just my love, human love, which is that's just inconstant and able to change. It's fickle, but God's love, pure, overwhelming, and he lavishes it on us. He just pours himself out into us, and just nothing's going to change that. I'm just going to wrap up soon, because I'm getting pretty emotional, and it's getting late. And so there's a song by Lauren Daigle called Dry Bones, and I'm going to put the link for the song in the description. Some of the lyrics are: through the eyes of man it seems there's so much we have lost, as we look down the road where all the prodigals have walked. One by one the enemy has whispered lies and led them off as slaves. But we know that you are God, yours is a victory. We know there is more to come that we may not yet see. So with the faith you've given us, we'll step into the valley unafraid. As we call out to dry bones, come alive, come alive. We call out to dead hearts, come alive, come alive. Up out of the ashes, let us see an army rise. We call out to dry bones, come alive. God of endless mercy, God of unrelenting love, rescue every daughter, bring us back the wayward son. And by your Spirit breathe upon them, show the world you alone can save. You alone can save. I know it can be hard to see God's mercy and his love while we're in the valley, or to have the energy to stand, let alone fight. But this is where we end, and God comes in to take over and gives us himself, so that we can get through this season and begin to live with renewed hope and strength. I know it's hard, and I know you may not be able to see an end to the pain and the suffering. I didn't think I would either, but I am proof that each season is only a season, and it will end, and it will get better. If I can do it, and if I can do it, and if God can, if I can do it, and if God can pursue you and help you heal, then it can happen for you too. You're loved. You are loved. You are loved by the Creator of the universe. You are loved by your family. You are loved by your friends. And you're loved by me. Please feel free to comment below. Reach out for prayer to a friend or to me. And remember, you are created, loved, and cared for by the Creator of the universe. And nothing you will ever do will change that. I love you. I will pray for you. And just remember about God. He will chase after you. He will pursue you. And he will love you. He does love you. And nothing you do can change that. Bye.